dog. Stop doing that.
What is the dog do? What the dog doing?
He's trying to wrap his head in the headphone wires.
Oh, dog.
Everyone asks what the dog doing.
What the dog?
No one asks how the dog doing. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCCR or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. And join us each week for tech discussions, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough. And Eric gives us just the tip. We're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
There is no Chris. There is no Chrissy.
But I'm Eric.
And I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. And thanks for listening to a 3.8-liter episode of our podcast. Mental wants me to talk about the lesser 90-degree V6. I'm going to wait 2 shows and talk about the better 90-degree GM V6, the 231, and just say Happy Groundhog Day to everyone. And quickly throw out around the table, Punxsutawney Phil says late winter.
No.
Long Island Chuck says
Jeff,
early spring.
Jeff, I really need you to read ahead in the notes.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Where did you put that in this morning? Oh, it wasn't there this morning when I looked.
I want to shout out to my sister who has a birthday today as well. So happy birthday, Missy.
Well, look, no matter what you're driving or what kind of rodent you have in your lap and you're driving, 3.8, 231, or 229, check out our bingo card. Link is in the show notes. What you working on?
By the way, this is episode 229.
229.
Never got around to that.
Oh, sorry.
Just completely dogged the all the research I had to do to dig up something that was relevant to 229.
Cut and paste out of Wikipedia.
No.
90-degree V6. A lot of secondary harmonic vibrations there. But hey, it was a pretty solid motor.
A very solid motor. And it was the replacement for the 250 cubic inch 4.1 liter straight six in 1980 for the Malibus, the Monte Carlos, and the Camaros. The 229 cubic inch, or as we know, 3.8 liter 90-degree V6. This is episode 229.
Yes. Not to be confused with the Buick 3.8. Subtle differences. That's right. So did the Cars and Cafe this Sunday. That's always a good time. There was some great stuff there. And I have working a split schedule. I've been hanging a lot of sheetrock. So there's a wall over there that's got about half the sheetrock on it. And Vicky has started to order our doors. So we are trying to get this place done. And I am going to have to renew my NASA license, competition license. I'm hopefully running an enduro next Saturday.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah. Where?
Willow Springs. The if you remember when we had the NASA guy on there, it's the endurance racing that NASA is doing now. So it's this is a 3.5 hour enduro, Big Willow.
Oh, Big Willow. Very nice. Mm-hmm. On my bucket list. Eric, what you working on?
I did as often I have to. People call me from distances and ask me to troubleshoot their car through the internet or through the phone. So I was able to diagnose and correct a Subaru bad drain system where they're fogging up a window. And I started disassembling the whole cowl assembly of my Cayman to get the last of the mouse chewed piece out and replace it all. So there's no hurry. It's snowing and icy and salty out there. So the car is just sitting. So all's good.
And I totally went out of order and forgot to introduce you because we know you so well that you don't need an introduction, but the listeners might not. So this is with Chris and Chrissy gone and away for the weekend. We're happy to have our often teammate Eric K. Are you going to reveal your last name, or we just go with Eric?
Eric Kritzler.
There you go.
I'm well known. Yeah, I'm everywhere.
I don't know if you needed any anonymity to be on the show with us fools, but we call you DJ 914 because you love the air-cooled Porsches, and this is going to be a Porsche-filled episode. And yeah, we're talking a lot of Porsches today. And you just mentioned, tell us about your which is it, a
87,
987, and it's trouble with the Mices.
Oh, the funny thing is it's not a lot of damage, but it's a lot of individual small pieces, and it's all plastic, and it's just replace. And then the problem is you got to remove large sections in order to get to the little places to replace. So it's not a big deal. That 987's a 2007. It's blue. Did you enable
beautiful blue
screen share? Yeah.
Oh, did I? If not, I will right now.
Disabled. Okay. Yeah, let me know when
take a second.
Yeah, take your time.
Go ahead.
And while you're bringing that picture up, we were getting text, the text pictures of your junk from the We Like the Tuna Here team, and he works in a shop, and that's actually one of the things that is ruining his days right now. Is cars are coming in with mice damage.
Yeah. So this is a 987 2007. It's beautiful. Cayman S, and picked it up about 6 years ago, and first thing I did when I drove that was say the automotive press is right. A Cayman is about almost the pinnacle of sports cars when it comes to just being enough power, great suspension, just a car that works with you. So lovely car.
Jeff likes to refer to that as his future Porsche.
My future Porsche, exactly. Yeah. We're going to talk about that later. It's on the list. But yeah, you are a 3-pedal Mafia regular. You're a lap dog, one lap of America in your high school. Am I correct? 914?
It is not, but it is. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
We'll get to
the details.
I should say what I've been working on.
He is a fascinating person, which is why we're having him as a guest host.
I appreciate that.
I'm so excited. I should say what I was working on. This is New Jersey, so I was snow shoveling and watching the 24 Hours of Daytona, and I had to put all of the Christmas things in the attic, and I just got finally sick of the lights that are in the attic. We've like pulled downstairs kind of attic, you know what I mean? And one like Edison light bulb on like a little pull chain. And I said, why am I dealing with this? For under $50 at Lowe's, I got 2 big LED work light things. I got like a remote switch. I got the cords I need to go from the thing. And now it's like I can actually see and use those little dark corners and hide all the Christmas stuff in the corners. So that's what I was doing.
It's a hard argument to not go to LED now.
Yes.
Almost wherever. If you're just in it, change it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everything that's going up in the house here is we're replacing with LEDs because they're cheap. They're in there. And you say smart too, because I can hook them up to the smart speaker.
Mm-hmm. All right. You can make them do like little light dancing when you're dancing for your wife and stuff like that.
Wow.
That's on the OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, it's got to have a little teaser so people know where to look.
Yeah. I got the I think I paid like $15 Harbor Freight plug-in end-to-end for my garage, and they were like no, I think they were like on sale for like $10, and I bought like 5 of them just because I was like, well, let me get them all now, and I hooked them all up in a straight straight line, and it's like you could do surgery in there, and it's still less voltage than like the old like 4-tube shop light that I used to have. So
it will last infinitely longer. And yes,
totally. So anyway, where are we at? No, Chrissy's not here. I have to yell myself. News and notes time. See what I'm wearing? It's for you, Eric.
Wait, do it again. Do it again. I was on the notes. Show me.
Oh,
golf. Oh, I love it. Oh, that is fantastic. Nice livery. 18-time constructor champion of Daytona.
Anyway, we're going to talk about Daytona in a minute. Let's talk about General Motors.
Ooh.
Because why? Because GM released its 4th quarter earnings. And for those of you who don't know, that also means that they can add up the last 4 announcements and figure out what you made for the entire year. And depending on the spin and who wrote the article, last night, 2 articles came out. They used the same numbers. CNN says GM posts record earnings despite chip shortage. And automotive news, a Canadian site posted GM profits drop 39% in Q4 as chip shortage slows production. So it boils down to fourth quarter sucked for sales, but they still turned a huge profit of over $10 billion over the year because with car shortages, you don't have to price cut as much, and closing factories is even cheaper than trying to get the UAW to reduce pay. So yeah, it doesn't matter what kind of pandemic you have, your giant bloodless, heartless corporations are still going to make a ton of money. Thank you, GM.
Crazy. All right.
I love if anyone is shocked by this, bear in mind, this is the company that purchased and dismantled streetcar systems throughout the United States in the 50s so that they would have to replace them with buses, which is one of the reasons we're in the environmental state we're in. This should not surprise anyone.
Yep. All part of the suburban sprawl, right? It's all about what we can sell people to get them to buy more and then be hooked on it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Eric, you got a story, right?
Absolutely. And I thought this one's particularly topical given, I think not the last one, but the two before that of your podcast. So Tesla now has to recall 53,822.
Yep.
I like how they gave a specific number.
It's a
US
follow-up
vehicles.
story.
Yes, it is a follow-up. It's the scoop. I'm scooping it with the company's full self-driving software. And they're going to have to disable that so that it can no longer do the ill-fated illegal rolling stops. And the
New Jersey stop as it is.
I totally paused. Anyway, there I was like, we were watching Clueless earlier, and it just reminded me of that. And their Tesla, of course, downplays it and said there were no safety issues. But I've seen multiple different reports stating that it would occasionally slow down to only 6 miles per hour and then continue if clear. But Elon says it was 2. And since he's second richest guy ever, his word means more than mine. But nonetheless, this gets us back to that whole topic of who's responsible if your self-driving car breaks the law. And apparently Tesla's taking some responsibility here and making it not happen.
It's going to be an issue that the lawyers are going to have to figure out when a self-driving car breaks the law or injures or kills someone. Yep. That's where we're at.
And it won't be about what's right or wrong. It's going to be about where the money is. Now, in some slightly better news, if you go to literally every major automotive publication's masthead on their drop-in lead page is somebody's hot take of driving the new, I mean, it's been around for a while, but the second generation NSX Type R under the lights at Daytona. It was just after the 4-hour pilot challenge race and before the 24-hour. So IndyCar champion and Honda sponsored driver Ryan Eversley took a flock of new NSXs driven by lucky automotive journos at a track pace, quote, fast
Honda,
enough to get us excited, but not
call us.
Go ahead, Mental.
Call us, Honda. We would have been there.
In the middle of my quote.
Sorry, go on.
Jesus Christ, Jeff.
We got to put that in the bingo.
Chrissy's not here to interrupt.
Jeff interrupts Mental.
I mean, no, that was a great jump in, but man, this is.
I thought I heard a comma. Go on.
You did in the middle of a quote. Link to everyone's got them. Link to the Bradley Brownell article is in our show notes. The short version is the NSX is amazing. Jeff and I can attest to that.
I haven't driven the Type R. Have you driven the Type R?
No, it didn't exist when you and I drove it. In fact, they only made 230 of them. They're all spoken for. You can't have one.
Bummer. I think honestly, you should at the end say that quote again. I think
this
one's it's a great quote. It's a great quote.
Go read the article. It's on Jalopnik's by Bradley Brownell. He's a friend of the show. Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
In other good news, recent email, John Colessa at AER, American Endurance Racing, has announced that if you have never raced with AER, first race is on them. They're going to give free entry to those who have never raced. Sadly, I think we've done it all. Us too. Eric, have you done an AER yet?
I have not done AER yet.
It's a good series. I really like AER. I wish the party was a little better in the paddock. A lot of people go home. A lot of people are a little too. I am serious racer, but yeah, I think he does good tracks, and I love the technology. So if you haven't tried it, try it.
And there is still, like, Friday nights, they usually have the Rubens Racing Performance Barbecue and Garage. They usually have something, and somebody's usually got a nice beer selection. I mean, they have parties. It is a good time.
Maybe they need me to show up there and give them a little bit more of a party.
All right. I'll ask you, gentlemen, and if someone wants to share, check out what I saw on Racing Junk today. In honor of our guest host, Eric, I put Porsche in the for sale section of the old Racing Junk website, and I found this tremendously tasty 911. Someone want to share the screen so we can see it? What's going on?
Yeah, it's just coming up a
there
little
it comes.
slow.
Yeah, it's slow.
We're all, yeah.
Oh.
So this is a $79,000, which is not that much money for a full race kit 911. It is a I should push it here so I could see.
It's a twin turbo 2,100 pound car. It makes about 450 to 500 horsepower. I imagine if you start fiddling with the turbos on there, of course, it's got the full fiberglass bodywork, 93 RS America chassis, NASCAR cage, the whole 9 yards. Penske nitrogen shocks, which cost more than most of the cars we race. Yeah, this is air
so
jack,
964 is 964 chassis, which is good but not great, and then it's a 993 bodywork, which is beautiful, gorgeous car.
And it says it was built for the 1998 Daytona 24 Hours at a cost of $225,000.
Yeah,
this could be yours for new Corvette money, right?
Before the markup.
Yeah. I this could be yours before used Corvette money, like last year's Corvette, if you got the thing. And this is what is so great about Racing Junk, is what a great place to just kill so much time and find wonderful, tasty things like this. Yes.
There it is. All right. What's up next? Upcoming races.
So Lemons has got their season opener down at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham. Our iRacing veteran Tyler Stank is currently still stuck in Atlanta, even though his bag has already made it ahead of him to Birmingham. He's trying to get down there. A whole bunch of the regulars, and it's a shame. This is the first time I have missed this race since 2014. I have been to every one of them that they have held, so I miss it. But there is
and I think Corey's actually flying in and doing an arrive and drive.
Yeah, he's trying to keep that on the DL, but yeah, he's doing that. And then Michael K, there's going to be a great pit party down there. Some other great stuff going on there. Now there's 108 cars, and I failed to recognize that I had not gone through and broke down the BMW, Miata, and Honda Porsche versions. But it's Lemons race. Expect a minimum of BMWs, and everyone's going to think they're boring and some of that kind of stuff. But here's what's really, really cool. It is a 1977 Chrysler Imperial. This car, yes. And I've seen snippets of this one on Facebook. It is amazing.
Is that a new build? I don't remember a Chrysler Imperial before.
This is going to be its debut. And there's some other great stuff that's going to be showing up down there. It should be a great time.
Wow. Well, on our iRacing, I was discussing with the boys, no matter what you see hanging below the overpass, do not pull over and tell the track workers that some lady is hanging herself. Yeah. It's only art.
It's only art. And there is so much art. It is, you can't keep track of how much art is at that place, and it changes every time.
Yeah. So Champ Car, it will be at Road Atlanta. This is the end of the season, beginning of the season leapfrog, because Lemons ends at Road Atlanta and Champ Car ends at Barber. So anyway, they'll be at Road Atlanta this weekend. 61 cars, 17 BMWs.
Boring.
It's been a while since we've been able to do that. 18 Miatas, 2 Hondas, 3 Porsches, and thanks to Mental for doing the research, an 04 Lotus Elise. Wow. I'm
not questioning Champ Car. Bill Strong is a friend of ours, and we've met Champ. And in fact, I'll be running at least one, if not 2 Champ Car events this year. I would love to see that thing fell on the vehicle performance indicator scale.
Yeah, because for those of you who have never done Champ, they basically give every chassis a starting number for points, and then
Mhm.
your modifications change the amount of points it has. So if you're bringing a new chassis like a Lotus Elise, somebody's got to basically guess where it's going to start.
Well, and it is a formula to it. You can always show up and run their outlaw class. They'll
Yeah,
let
they call it
you run
XX.
yeah,
Like
they'll
that.
let you run just about anything that isn't, completely stupid and is absolutely safe. So yeah, if you and there's a lot of folks will go down there and it's not even that their cars are cheaty. They just don't want to do the math on it. They just want to have fun racing.
Yeah. Awesome. Recent results. This is the opening for most of the major sanctioned bodies. So
Yeah.
no amateur results. Let's talk about the best race at the Daytona Speedway every year. The 24 hour.
So I'm going to read it. Didn't watch it. I hanging sheetrock, man. I'm doing stuff. So they ran last weekend, and of course, if you've ever been to the 24, a spectator's fist may have ended in a collision with a luxury mammal's chin. There are always fights in the paddock. They start drinking on Thursday, and of course, you're in Daytona, Florida. Dadgummit. But we're going to talk about the race results. The Meyer Shank Acura won overall with Elio Castaneves behind the wheel as it crossed the finish line in a heated battle that saw the lead change in the last few laps. There is a recap of this on racingjunk.com. So apparently the Meyer Shank is tied in with our media partners. Real action, of course, that I did see on the Slack channel everybody was talking about was in GTD Pro. 2 911s, both Porsche factory driven, nose to tail, last few laps. And then on the last one, I am going to butcher this poor French name, Mathieu Jamais, who just passed Lawrence Van Thor, who was leading most of those final laps. Van Thor went deep, nearly collected them. Both went into the grass. Van Thor spun ahead and ended up in third. And the race leaders were in the same turn. So they literally had to drive through this dust cloud. It was a tense moment, awesome ending. Glad nobody was hurt. Nobody wadded up a car, but that's, whew. And those Porsche guys, man, they are always fighting for that next level. So they do not give anything.
Yep. 18-time winner at Daytona Porsche. So they've been there before and maybe they'll come back.
And Helio with a different team actually took the checkered flag last year. So he is a 2-time back-to-back winner. There was an interesting moment, like I guess with about an hour, maybe it was 45 minutes left. The Meyer Shank car Acura was leading, and they asked the driver, who is their regular, like full-time driver, got 40 minutes left. Can you handle it? And he said, no, take me out. And they put in Helio to take it home. And the the in-race interview, they said, were you feeling bad? Were you slipping? And he says, no, in his French accent, had to go to the toilet.
Gotta hurry.
Priorities.
Yeah, gotta hurry and finish the race. That's a good one. A former guest, Patrick Wilmot, was down there for the 4-hour race. They did not do as well in that AOA Audi. And also, I guess the Miata race was quite interesting as well to see. And of course, my guy Jordan Taylor. I'm not a Corvette fan, but I'm a huge Jordan Taylor fan, and they were 8th.
The Corvettes did not fare well.
No,
it's all right.
Always another year, right?
Yep.
Well, and it's not that I don't want them to do bad or to do well, but it's always hilarious when they do well because Jordan Taylor's going to do something.
Nice.
Yeah. And clearly Mental was hanging so much drywall he wasn't watching the Twitter. Donnie, I hope your chin is okay. Listener feedback time.
All right, it's E1R birthday season. And as it always starts with, Sunday was Chrissy's birthday. Thanks to everyone who wished her a happy birthday. She'll be back next week.
Absolutely. I posted a rare photo. Well, it's not a rare photo. It's a common photo, but of a rare event. It was me getting rid of a car, and Andrew S. was in total disbelief in his best internet cat language. This is not Mental's way. You buy more, consume.
So obviously I wasn't watching the Instagram because Mental posted up a picture of Punxsutawney Phil, who saw his shadow today. And we post the results and the weather predicting critters across the U.S. And on the Facebook, Dickie P said, man, if I had a gun, I'd shoot that son bitch so he couldn't tell me about 6 more weeks of winter. So clearly, Dickie P, you're a Staten Island Chuck fan, because Staten Island Chuck totally says spring is coming. I don't know.
Your driveway says different.
Yeah. I have actually been to Punxsutawney on Groundhog Day and saw them pull the rat out of the hole. It's a funny story. When we have a couple drinks, I'll tell you all about it.
Now, since you've got 6 more weeks of winter coming up, it is a perfect opportunity for you to hop on that elliptical.
Survive the 25. All right. So Jeff, this is you, I think. So
yeah, this is me. So five podcasts, us and 4 others, are all challenging ourselves to lose 25 pounds. It was from Thanksgiving time to April 15th. And I am still stuck at 7 pounds. I am working out like a maniac. I am quickly running out of time. I did a lot more. We're also reading racing books and doing sim time. So my sim time is going up. I'm getting much better at the sim. I have like license points now in iRacing. I'm very excited by that. But I worked out like a mofo, and the number of workouts is up, the intensity is up, and it's just the weight is not coming off. So I don't know. I guess I got to look at the plate.
Yeah,
a little bit more out.
Maybe, but also knowing, and maybe it's a little bit of healthy. You're still getting more healthy, so maybe it'll take longer, but it'll still be in better shape in the end.
Yeah,
right?
no, I'm definitely in better. I'm in better shape now than I was 6 weeks ago.
It's awesome.
Pants aren't any less tight. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, if you're plateauing, man, you got to shake it all up.
Yeah.
But we're back in the world of sim racing, which Jeff alluded to right there. And Lemon started the 2022 season with an Enduro at where else? Of course, it was at Barber. Bearded Sim Ryan, Eric Rude, Lady A, Hoosty, and I were joined in the announcer's booth by Matthew Kalish, who is a noted motorsports, particularly rally photographer and E-Podium motorsports commentator.
Nice.
30 of those cars started. Yeah, he actually showed us a picture of the only, and it was a real Dodge Caliber factory built rally car. Still campaigns up in the Pacific Northwest. Yes. So 30 cars started. All the Smiths managed to cross the line first, but Lady A deliberately let a last minute pass get around her so she could get that true win in our randomly chosen number 23. And then a quick jaunt over to Irwindale for the winged figure 8. Wartburger Thief Aaron literally led this from pole to pole, except for like one brief time. But the real winner was Eric Hesser in 13th.
The next Lemons Race iRacing event is February 19th. That's a Saturday. Okay, It'll be an endurance at Sonoma, followed by a brief banger cross at Phoenix.
We also iRaced on a Monday, just like we always do.
Yeah, I finally got back to it. I had taken me weeks to try to sort out my problem with my 2010 Fanatec GT2 wheel, and now I'm back. Yes.
Yep. We did Daytona, of course, and Tyler won one of the races, and Dave won the other race. A lot of the same usual crew, including that's where Corey told me that he was going to be at Barber. So I don't know.
All right. Well, no, he was mentioned to me. He was trying to keep on the DL. I know it might have been just in the lead up to it, trying not to be around anyone so he wouldn't catch the Rona.
Oh, that could be. All 12 of our listeners, keep it to yourself. All right.
Well, and 8 of them are at Barber anyway. So,
that's true. Yeah. That's true.
All right.
Out of those 8 listeners, Eric, do you know who was the first?
I think someone who maybe deserves a shout out. So to that, I'm going to say hi to Chrissy's mom.
Hello, Chrissy's
Very
mom.
good.
We know Chrissy's not here, but we appreciate you listeling.
That's right. She probably is not listening this week.
At least listening far enough in to realize Chrissy's not in this one. So
I feel like she might just out of habit.
She might.
That we'll know next week because we'll get it mentioned. Eric, you've been a partaker in the Chrissy's mom's cookies.
Oh,
what's your favorite?
Wow. Snickerdoodle probably, although that one chocolate chip we had at what was that? New Hampshire was to die for. Oh, and the peanut butter moon pies.
The peanut butter ones. Yeah, anything with peanut butter. I can't have
Hey,
any of them now.
I need a minute. I need a minute.
Take a minute.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get on to the main topic. Main topic time. Yeah, we're here talking about Porsches tonight. We've got Porsche expert. I should say, how about this longtime Porsche owner who has owned multiple.
Let's give him enthusiast.
Varieties.
I feel like he's an enthusiast. You know,
I think
he doesn't buy them to be pretentious. He buys them because he loves them.
Yeah, I think I may be an aficionado.
Oh, I like that.
Okay.
Now, your name's Roger. My name's Roger too. Two Rogers don't make a right. Now, if I had a 1976 914-6, I would not be a wanker. I would be a connoisseur.
Exactly. That's right.
Anyway,
I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about 914s, 911s, current Porsches, air-cooled, water-cooled, one lap. We might even talk trombone. I'm not sure.
Whatever.
As we can see behind you that we have some music gear floating around. That got there like how many channels is that mixer over there?
32.
32.
All automated faders. It's a great thing. Not only that, it's got, I know, this is not everyone's music, but it's but it's got 16 auxiliary channels, so I can do anything I want to it whenever I want.
That's
Perfect.
awesome.
And for those who not, again, we see Eric all the time. We love having him at the track. He is also a music enthusiast, and I believe to a degree this also plays in how you make your living. During the Rona, you guys had the socially distanced band on the cul-de-sac. You and your neighbors would all stand a far enough distance apart and play songs, the entertainment of your neighborhood. That's fantastic. And when we bought the sad trombone, I remember it. New Jersey. It was New Jersey. Some years ago, you were actually playing different tunes for everyone as they came and got their trophies. So
that's all I know how to do. You're like playing songs.
No, I love it. I love it. Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here, guys. You know, I listen to this podcast all the time, and so it's fun to be on it, fun to be part of it right now.
and I don't think I didn't notice that is a 5-string bass behind you.
Yeah, I'm a 5-string bassist. There are those who
Fretless?
say no.
Fretless?
I mean, I have a fretless bass, but I prefer when I'm. So I'll just go into it a little bit. I'm in multiple bands, and I do a lot of singing, and while singing, and I don't think I'm proficient enough to truly play a fretless bass and sing at the same time, because I really need to know where those fingers have to go while you're trying to do all things at once. So fretless, you got to be listening and playing and singing, and that's too much for the brain to work at this time. Maybe I'll get there someday, but frets for me. So, yeah, no, I appreciate it.
We already mentioned that you had some sort of 914 in high school. Give us your Porsche journey.
I'm gonna go down the Porsche path.
Go ahead.
So, like many kids who grew up in the 80s, everywhere you looked, there was a VW Beetle in someone's backyard, including my own. So we had a 66 Beetle, and I converted it into a dune buggy when I was about 12 years old with my dad's help. And that like hooked me for life, mostly because my dad didn't do it for me, really. He just kind of helped here and there. And it turned me into what I think is critical, is that I found joy in accomplishing things in a mechanical sense, right? It's like making a project, making it happen, getting it done, and then looking back and saying, I'm able to do this. And at 12 years old, it makes a huge difference. I mean,
you say dune buggy, was it like a Myers Manx or a Baja? The Baja style.
Like a Baja style.
Those are fantastic.
Yeah, it is one of those things that you know what? Here, I'll show a picture.
Oh, you gotta watch this episode on YouTube.
So for those who are on the pod, what you're going to see is a old, as you can imagine, old picture when I was a kid.
Oh no!
Oh.
So this is a
This is a
sand
rail.
rail style.
Yeah,
Oh,
like a rail.
wow.
Yeah, based
That
on
is. You
and
say Baja. I was
it's
thinking
one
like
of
when
the
they
rare.
pull the fenders off and jack them up. This is
Oh no!
awesome.
Yeah,
And
this is
irony of ironies, there's another Beetle behind you.
yeah, and that funny thing is that's actually we'll talk about him a little bit. Tom Buswell, that's actually him and his brother's Beetle at the time, same time we were taking these pictures. So
That is fantastic. Yes. So if you're watching this, and I say budget build. I don't want to be insulting
It
about
was.
that, but clearly a budget build because you're running on the original wheels and what looks like the original tires. But this is a full up sand
Tube
rail,
style sand rail.
tube frame sand buggy. Like these things are they're very popular out here in Las Vegas, and and nowadays people are dropping LSs in them. But this is amazing. This is fantastic. Oh,
and that
wow.
is a
I
torsion
didn't think
bar
I could
rear?
be more
Yes.
impressed with
Yes.
you, but yet here I am. And you did this when you were 12. I was still like, just trying to jump my BMX bike off of rickety wooden ramps.
This was actually when we were 15. So at the time I had gone through different motors and I'd done this. And by the time I got into high school, it actually looked pretty good. It had different wheels. But at the time, you're working at Pizza Hut for $3.35 an hour, and it takes you a 4-hour shift in order to buy freaking valve cover gaskets, right? So you're like, one step at a time. Everything takes one step at a time. Anyway, so I amassed a collection of VW Beetles, and this was all before I had my license. And I would swap them out and sell them, and or bring the ones to the junkyard, etc. And every day on my school bus ride, we went past this house, and it had a orange 914 in the driveway. And I would look at it and I think someday, it felt like the Wayne's World moment where he goes to the thing and he goes and he says, someday
it'll be mine.
Oh yes, it will be mine. So
hey, read the sign. No stairway.
So I got the gumption one day when I just gotten my license, and I drove up there and I went and knocked on the door. I said, "Hey, how much? How you want to sell this?" And I did the exact obvious right thing. I got it while the husband wasn't home, and I got the wife, and she said, "Make me an offer." So I paid her too much at the time. I paid her $900 because it was a basket case. And it had a whole lot of things. The engine was in the little field next to it, and the transmission was under that bench that the engine was sitting on. And it had sat for 7 years. So it had sat since 1980. So it was driven for 5. It got in a little bit of a mess, and then sat for 7 years. And I picked it up, brought it home, and in a month, I had rebuilt the motor and was driving it around. And another one of those moments of sense of accomplishment at an early age that drove me to never, I never give up when I'm working on things because I learned I can do it. And it's such a good thing to have those cars as kids. So.
And you still own this vehicle?
I still own this vehicle. So I'm going to show, I'll show a picture of that too. Cause so for those on the pod, what you're going to see is a picture, or when you get to it, is a picture of a 75 914.
Oh yeah,
in orange. Hold, is it showing it?
Yes, it absolutely
it.
is. And that's that gorgeous, just the great 70s colors that you just don't see anymore.
Yes,
I love those wheels.
Molly's. Yeah,
I'm a Fuchs man myself, but those things are just right.
Yeah, no, the Fuchs have in car design, it has an uneven weighting, because when you get to it, if it's a 4-spoke, if they paint them, they look like a 4-spoke, and 4-spoke is inherently a static design of a wheel. And so it doesn't feel like it's moving. That's why most wheels are 5, even on 4-lug cars, most wheels are 5 or multiple numbers because the design helps your eye to see it as movement. So anyway, this is the car I got. And then in 87, I played around with it. I drove it to college. I did a whole bunch of stuff to it. I didn't take care of it. And it got a little ratty. But
ratty no more.
So ratty no more. And here it is a couple years later. I'm just joking.
I was gonna say, I believe that one's got some frame damage.
Yeah.
No, that one was a parts car that I still have, but of course it's nothing but iron oxide now. And about 2000, I had it professionally resprayed, and made it beautiful. And just recently, we'll get back to him, but Tom Buswell put on those chrome bumpers for me because it's a 75, which had the original big old
Rubber
impact
bumpers.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
old boom, boom bumpers. And I like this better. It's prettier and it's lighter. And go for pretty these days.
Outstanding.
So-
And that's not your only 914 because you had some a calendar that just.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a second. So I'll get there. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. I just figured we'll.
No, keep going.
This is literally what Jeff and I do every week. So yeah, no, correct me. It's totally fine.
So that one I started DE in, and DE in a 914. The engine's slightly modified, so it's about 84 massive German horsepower.
Look out.
I know, but it's a hell of a momentum car.
When the Miatas are pulling you on the straights, you're in
Oh
trouble.
yeah. No, and I got really good Porsche Club DE where I was, in the second realm of, no longer green. So I was white, and I was frustrated because I would annihilate people in corners and then they would pass me and then they would be in my way again for the next corner. And it's that common thing you get when you have a low power momentum car that is nicely balanced and you know what to do with. Then I said, it's time. I got to step it up. I got to get something else, something that's a little bit more power. And it was 2006, late 2006. And I saved up money and I was able to, very lucky for me, pick up a 993, a black 993.
Oh yeah.
That
now I need a minute.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I love that car. And of course I picked it up in 2007 when it wasn't stupid money, right? It wasn't stupid money. And heck, even 964s were going for 10 grand less than that. So, today, with all the crazy
cool tax
resto mods with those 964s, Singer and all, those are just stupid money. Stupid money.
What track is that?
VIR.
VIR.
See, I'm looking at. I knew I should have recognized it. All right, fantastic.
VIR.
I only recognized it because it said it on the screen.
If you haven't been to VIR, go this year.
We're going this year.
It's a fantastic.
On the
track.
list.
It is everything. That track has everything. You name it, it's got it.
It really, and it's, and we say this 1,000 times, but there are just those old tracks that were not designed with a computer. They were just designed, and there's a feel to them that you cannot replicate. And it's Mid Ohio, Road America, and West Glen, and Road Atlanta, and of course VIR.
Yeah. So so that's where my Porsche arc ended into air cooled. And that's probably it for me for air cooled, unless I somehow win the lottery and buy myself a 356, which I'd love to buy. I'd love to, but I can't see spending the money. Although I will talk a little bit about that at the end, because investment in cars right now is a fascinating, real thing. It's almost better with the numbers historically in the last year to buy a expensive car than what you're getting in your 401k. So, and we're all going to retire, but where's the market going to go?
How do you tell the wife that? You can't. No.
If you could show, I know past performance doesn't equal future, but it's something to talk about.
It is definitely something to talk about. Sadly, I think we missed the train on some of the big money.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't on the 993.
It's not big money. If it were a turbo, it'd be big money.
Sure.
Or an S, but I wish, but still it's doubled since.
Well, it's beautiful. I've been in the right seat, and it's butter. It's just so nice. It's choice. Everything you want. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead. Ask me questions. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, you were DEing. Let's talk about other track things. Tell us about your track life.
So I spent about 10 years DEing, many tracks a year, just doing that. And it was a lot of fun. But I thought I'll never get into real racing. It seems to, I can't accept the concept that someone would hit my car in the middle of a train, right? You have to accept, if you're racing, you have to accept that car may go away.
Could go lost, yep.
Right, and fiscally and emotionally, and I forget that. So my partner in crime, I guess you call him, Tom Buswell, he and I had been talking since we were in college about doing a thing called One Lap of America. One Lap of America is sort of like the grown-up version of the Cannonball Run.
Sure.
It's it was founded by Brock Yates. It's the spiritual successor.
Still
Yep.
run by Brock Yates Jr.
Absolutely. Yep. And we had been talking about that forever. And sort of, 10 plus years, 13, 20, almost 20 years, back in the days when it was a little bit rough, like people would actually get a little crazy in between. And now it's very sedate, but very significant.
When you really had to cruise on the transit sections. Real quick, we'll just say this is a circle around the United States. It used to go around the entire United States. Now that does either left half or right half. That is track days, really time trials at different tracks across the nation.
Yep.
So get up today in Indiana, race at a track, get in your car, go to Kentucky, sleep maybe, and then race again.
I'll walk through the one I did with everybody because I think it's interesting. But so about 2008, I saw something on one of the Porsche forums or whatever that a guy was selling a 74 914 and a garage worth of parts for $5,000. And I said, okay, let me go take a look at that.
Yeah, I need one of those.
Taking a look at that resulted in.
Did it run, or is it like a basket case? Okay.
No, it didn't run, but it wasn't apart. It was just not running. It had been suffered elemental issues. It came with like 3 engines, about 2 sets of cookie cutters, many Fuchs. I mean, the money in wheels itself was pretty close to what. So Tom and I sort of went in on it. I effectively gave the car I paid for it, but I gave the car to him because I wanted him to start DE, and he didn't have any DE cars, and he got the car running and got a 2-liter in it, or 2.1 liter in it, and started doing campaigning in DE. Tom quickly rose to the ranks, and he's now an instructor and the whole deal. But he said, I'm going to put a 6 in it. So he
back when you could just find these discarded 2.7 liters everywhere. Yeah,
it's a 3-liter SC. He picked it up for like $2,500, sight unseen, sold the carbs off it and a couple other things, and effectively got the engine for $0, right? And threw that in there. And as we
never do that today,
that'll be $17,000 right there.
Oh yeah, there is a so I want to say there's a 2.7 liter that keeps popping up in my Facebook Marketplace, and I want to say that one is well into the teens.
Even a 2.7, the worst of them all. I mean, even they're good, but it's the worst of them all. But the great thing about 3 liters SC motors is that, honestly, I think hard to disagree that they are 300,000 mile motors, right? They're so solid. They barely need anything. Even my 993, that does burn exhaust valve guides eventually around 100,000 and stuff like that. But these are just so solid motors. He picked that up. We don't know how many miles on it. He has been campaigning that at the Glen and everywhere since then for 10 years. And we said, this is it. We have the car. We're going to do 1 lap. So in 2016, we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we knew what we were doing, but we don't know, you only know so much. And we signed up for 1 lap and did 1 lap. And here's the car at Palmer.
This is the silver one, right?
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
now what you're seeing here is obviously a very well done silver 914.6. It's got the GT flares. It's got
steel.
It's got the front rear spoiler, gorgeous wheels on there. But I'm going to cheat, and I love that it is sitting in the rain in a gravel parking lot,
dirt.
In the dirt, because, and I'm jumping ahead just a tick. This is the event you met Chris and Chrissy, and as Chris tells it, we met these 2 lunatics in an uninsulated 914.6.
Yep. That's us lunatics. We were the lunatics, and I totally agree with it. And I knew that, that first day I said, this is crazy. We're doing it.
Because you had no real heater.
No heater at all.
Okay. No heater at all. Of course, no air conditioning. There's no sound deadening in this car, and it is not quiet.
No sound deadening. And and the
seats don't recline in a 914. They got nowhere to go.
they're whatchamacallit, the steel, the
Kirkies.
aluminum Kirkies.
Oh,
Yeah,
They were
aluminum
Kirkies.
Kirkies.
God.
2,800 miles in Kirkies. There was only one little saving grace is that Tom's mother had sewn these like foam seat bases that we stuck in while we were riding along, but that wasn't much. And I had crazy. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing a bit. Anyway, so let's just go over that because I think one lap is something that Lemons people would love to do that kind of thing. I think you guys would love to do it.
Oh, I would love to do it. Absolutely. Yeah.
So this is how it started out. We started out at Tire Rack, which hopefully Discount Tire doesn't change this scenario after the merger. Started at Tire Rack and they did a wet skid pad test. So every one of these items that I'll talk about is actually a competition. And there are many different groups. We were in the vintage foreign, which lucky for us was only 3 entries. Most people have GTRs or GT3s or major Corvettes or something.
Yeah, a lot of hot, major turbos.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, people are big iron, fast stuff.
Oh yeah, and they go really fast, but their competition pool is larger, as you can imagine, because they have that many of them. They're all going for the overall win. So started out Tire Rack, wet skid pad, and then
what was against you? You said there was 3 cars, so it was 914.6. What else?
It was,
do you remember?
914.6, certainly. There was a 944 with a LS swap.
Okay.
And there was a 280Z with a Chevy, I forgot, a monster motor. And it was an automatic.
V8 of some sort.
V8. And that team, we can talk about that later. They were amazingly excellent and consistently just laps after laps of really fast work. So that one was the one with the hard one to beat. Okay, so then from there, we left that night. It was dark early, and we're like, "What the heck?" And it was raining, and we drove all the way from
South Bend, Indiana,
South Bend, yeah, Notre Dame area to Pittsburgh Pit Race. Got there, went to bed, had a little bit of sleep, got up, went to the track and ran at Pit Race, and it rained the whole time, and that was fine. The car proved coming out of that, it rained even more, and we were trying to keep the windows unfogged. Pit Race, we did okay, felt okay, but neither of us had done Pit Race before, so it was just you do what you do is you
Pit Race is not an easy track to learn.
It's long and it's confusing up at the upper area because it's turn, and then you're like, oh, now where am I? Okay.
You definitely lose track of where you are for a minute if you don't know how many lefts are coming or how many rights are coming.
So the way that the one lap does it is they give you 1 lap to orient yourself, and then you run 2 laps at race speed to see what you got.
2 flying laps.
2 flying laps, right? Yep. And then
and the fastest lap is what is counted for your points.
That's correct. So so we did that one. That was fine. Tom took that one. I had not yet driven that car on a track. So to me, I was like, okay, where am I going to go? So I said, okay, I'll do Palmer. I don't know what Palmer was like. I didn't know enough. I looked it up. I saw the track map. I read it. I did all those things.
You watched the YouTube,
So we drove all the way from Pittsburgh to Palmer, which was hundreds and hundreds of miles getting there late.
Where is Palmer for those who may not be?
Massachusetts,
but it's like Western Mass,
yeah,
right?
It is Western Mass. It's in the Berkshires, but it is not a short ride. And all the while, the 914's leaking out of the side seals, and for probably a couple hundred miles, I held up cups to catch the water as it was coming in, so that I could just dump it out. No heat. It was freaking freezing. I had little jackets, but because what the hell? I didn't think ahead. First time, I was called the lap puppy. They said you're the lap puppy because it's your first time. So we get to Palmer. It's pouring rain. And Tom's like, okay, it's your turn. I drive around Palmer. And if you've never been to Palmer is a track surrounded by boulders.
Yes. No runoff area.
No
right?
runoff. No runoff. And holy moly. So there I am, first time in driving this car, trying to learn this car in the rain at Palmer. There are literally rivers running down at an angle to the straight, right? So it's not like you're going to hit it and it's straight on. You're hitting it and it's an angle where the river's gone. So even more unsettling.
Now, for our listeners who might be uninitiated, 914 is actually a mid-engine car. The engine sits directly behind the driver. Now, mid-engine cars are fantastically balanced, but when they come loose, you're reduced to passenger status, and you're just there until they are done spinning.
It's a low polar moment of inertia, which is fantastic because it turns well, but it turns well.
All right. So that was an 8-hour and 50-minute drive, and it
558 miles
plus tolls. So you paid for that. That's awesome.
We paid. Yeah, we paid for the abuse. I love it. So on my first lap, I'm coming up around and I spin it. I spin it on track. And I'm like, well, I didn't hit anything.
This is your untimed lap because
this was my time.
Oh, your
lap.
first time lap.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the good thing is the other person came behind me was like, they let him out like 3 minutes later or something. So I didn't have to worry about somebody coming around this corner and smacking into me. But I got it, and then that was the worst of my event the whole time, right? That was I hit rock bottom, and everything from there was so much better. And I'm bearing the lead, I guess, on that one. So Palmer, we're done. We drive back. It's still raining. That picture you saw of it sitting there in that gravel pit, that was where everybody was. We were in a gravel park, jumping through puddles to try to get to our cars, trying to stay a little bit dry, but not succeeding. Get out of Palmer, drive to Summit Point. I knew Summit. I've driven Summit many times. Tom's like, I know Summit too. And he's like, I'm going to drive this one because at the time we had said, we'll each take a track because you have morning and afternoon sessions because you get to do it twice and then do the tracks. And since he had more experience, he said, he's going to hit Summit. And that was good. Smart. Tom's a better driver than me and he would have done better. And he did better at Summit. So
that's saying something because we've seen you wheel. You're good.
Yeah. That's 436 miles, 7 hours and 6 minutes.
Yeah. So in a loud 914, and I'll say this about the 914.
On Kirkies.
The 914 is louder on the intake than it is on the exhaust. I'll say so. So holy moly, it's so loud. We put a radio in it, but there's really no point. So get to Summit, do great, and it stops raining. And we're like, oh, thank God, it's a little bit warmer. We're no longer bailing out the car and all those good things. Get out of Summit, happy with our results in Summit. The first two were, but Summit was okay. We were looking at various things, and we head 600 miles or something to NCM. 600 miles. So that basically heads west. Corvette magazine. Yeah, head west in through West Virginia. We're putzing along at a common 85, 90 miles an hour when a bunch of the other guys, including the guys who does Gas Monkey Garage in his Mustang with a huge motor, flies by at 150, I would say.
605 miles, according to the Googles.
605. Thank you. And 150. So I was driving. Tom's like, So I did some very high, typical for like a mental West Coast in a Mercedes numbers, but very rare, very rare for me ever driving that fast on public roads. And I did for a while, but that car is not like Bentel's car. Unlike Bentel's car, is not a high-speed cruiser. That is point and squirt, small, short wheelbase. Not meant for cruising. And Chris and Chrissy will laugh at me because they got out at NCM of their air-conditioned luxury car.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's nice. Let's go do a little something.
That's the highlighting the difference of your mentality, which is a lot more in line with Jeff and I versus Chris. You and your buddy decided, you know what? It's now or never. We've always wanted to do one lap of America. What do we got? Oh, this 914.6. Let's do it. Yeah. Chris decided, He wanted to do one lap of America, and he looked at the classifications, and he looked at the cars were doing well, and he thought, well, I wouldn't want to be in one of those. Wouldn't want to be in one of those. Oh, okay. Here's my classification.
Luxury
This will do well.
sedan. That sounds nice.
This will do fantastic. And of these available luxury sedans, what would be the best choice for the amount of money? Okay, so well, yes, the most amount of horsepower I can get is a 6.3. Oh, the CLS. This is a wonderful car, and it seems to be somewhat P03 or the P30 option, of course, limited slip, and blah, blah. And then okay, I have now decided I will buy this car out of a list of 5 that I've reduced to this choice, and I will now then find the best one of these in the United States, which he did. It just happened to be just up the road from him, and they purchased this one to go off and do one lap of America while you and your buddy are like, yeah, I got a couple Cokes, man, grab a bag of chips, let's do this. So
he did it very well, and he smartly did it. I would say I would not trade what I did ever, but doing it again, we're not going to do it. We're probably not going to do it in the 914. We're probably doing one of our Caymans or something, and it'll be so different. Anyway,
yes.
Got to NCM. Tom and I at that point said, you know what, this is not working. Let's split up. He'll do morning and I'll do afternoon, and something. So of course he does NCM track, and I get in, and of course it rains for my session. It hadn't been raining, and it rains for my session.
You got all the rain.
Yeah. I was like, and everyone's laughing at me, because this is the second time. I mean, the third time you've driven, and now it's raining again. So God bless you. So anyway, it was fun. NCM didn't have time to see the Corvette Museum, which I was sad about, but we had to press on and do 540 miles, I believe, straight north to get to Road America. Sheboygan, and it was got there.
There's a possibility I might be able to do that one this year. That is one of my 3 remaining bucket tracks.
It's a bucket track. It's not as good as VIR, because it has all these mega straights and then some weird stuff, but it is a great track. And so I highly recommend it. Get to Road America. I will back up a little that by this time we had certainly become friends with Chris and Chrissy, which we originally met them at Pittsburgh. And then sort of they realized that we were insane, which meant we were a little like them. And we became good. We were kind of running with them in caravan style on the way there, et cetera, to Road America. And
I'd like to mention that the reason they decided that you would be friends is one of you was doing old Greg quotes.
Yeah, that was me.
I'm old Greg.
Drink a shoe full of Baileys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
You like
great.
my place? It has all the nice things.
I'm making watercolors for you. My messed up man pots.
I showed you my messed up man part. Yeah. Anyway. Road America. Go on.
Road America, did that one. By that time, we were actually looking okay. We weren't going to hit first, but the 944 with the LS started having issues. So he wasn't doing great, but he wasn't doing. We were trying to beat him, with points and all that stuff, and so we were feeling, we're running for second, trying to get to second place. So worked really hard at Road America, did well, was happy with that result, got out of there. And at the same time, and I think you guys mentioned it a couple pods ago, the Toyota team, we sort of became friends with the Toyota team.
Yeah, the guys in the van, right?
Well, the van, but also the, what was the car? It was
Was it Solara?
No, it was the big one, the big luxury Toyota. Avalon. Yeah, they had an Avalon, and you're asking why an Avalon? They're like, because it was the only car that Toyota had that they didn't want back, right? They let us work on it. They let us do whatever we wanted to, put a cage in it. So these are all engineers from Toyota, and they were a lot of fun. So out of Road America, we're leaving, we're heading down, and we stop at the Brat Stop, which is this place.
Famous place outside of Road
Brat Stop.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. And I still thank Toyota that they picked up the whole tab. So to me, that was like a
fantastic
moment of, minor thing, but thank you, Toyota. Thank you guys. If ever they hear this, I thank them, but it's good to really make a point of it. So that was fun. We had great, I think that was the first time I actually drank anything, alcohol for the whole time. Cause the whole deal.
You got to stay sober if you're driving to Kirky for 600 miles a day.
Well, Yes. So,
Because it's not like you're going to be rested anywhere you go.
right. Well, I apologize. There's one thing else in there. We went before the broad stop. We went to the Great Lakes Dragway. And this was a fantastic moment of time. Tom, being the effective owner of the car at the time, and the guy who bid, I said, "You're driving it. I am not drag racing this car for fear I'm going to break it." Right. And this is a stock 901 transmission, which is something that
Not the good one.
not a high torque one.
Yeah.
Right. Not something, it would be the same one that a 914.6 would have,
Yeah.
but not a 3-liter 914.6. That would have been they would have put in like a G50 or a 915 or something like that. But we didn't do that. And Tom, it was bracket drag racing, and Tom posted a 13.9, which is
That's pretty fast.
Pretty good for that little car.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think he said 14. So, and he bracket after bracket after brackets just kept pulling people out and winning. And
Wow.
I'm up there on the bleachers freaking out because I've rebuilt those transmissions. I know that first gear comes out and here's the gear, and
all you see is the gears
nothing
meshing.
holding the other end, right? That drive shaft doesn't have two bearings holding it. It just has one. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to happen. And we're getting down to the last, it's for second place. And we're getting down to the last, well, not the last one, but for second place. And he's like, I'm feeling this a little slower. I'm going to put a 14.1 and in my bracket number. And he blows out and we end up with third place. But for that little 914.6, third place on a freaking dragway.
He added a 10th and then didn't slow himself down.
I think he thought he was, and honestly, he was so consistent, and just the same thing over and over and over again. Very impressive. And he was beating people with automatic challengers. Like how hard is it? Put the pedal down, and you
Camaro.
Go. Right.
An automatic Camaro is the easiest thing to bracket drag race anywhere.
Yeah. So kudos to him. But there's video of me. You could just hear me as I'm videotaping it. Like, oh, like he's gonna, and then Chrissy's like laughing at me for my nervousness of him actually, surviving this event. So we get third place. I'm like, this is awesome. We're third place. How can we not win? And then I look at the standings, and you get 1 point if you win the drag race. That's the lowest.
Yeah, it's the lowest thing because nobody cares about the drag race.
I know, but
they're all road racers.
But it was a great. I hope I will never forget that moment. I can still feel the adrenaline in me, thinking, "This is awesome. We're close to." If he had won that one, then he would have to do one more, and he could have won the whole thing. So.
So anyway. when we did the Grassroots Motorsports Challenge in the Wartburg, which was a 2.2 liter Subaru off of a Beetle transmission, a 4-speed Beetle transmission with the swing axle.
Yep.
Chris won perfect light. They were running the Pro Tree, and he pulled a perfect 500.
That's
and they
awesome.
gave him a trophy for that.
That is awesome. I didn't know that. He may have told me sometime, but I don't remember that. But that's fantastic. No, it's good. It's a lot of
drag racing is silly fun. I totally understand how it's an addictive thing.
It is.
It's not my sport. I'm not that into it. I don't think I would ever build a car for it. Mm-hmm. But what if you're like, oh, I'm a road racer, I don't drag stuff. You get over yourself. It's fun.
Yeah, no, there's no reason to be elitist. And on top of that too, racing is racing.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Well, what'd you guys learn at PRI, right? That endurance racing is what, 20% or 18%?
No, not even road racing.
Oh, road racing. It's
endurance
20%.
racing is a subset of road racing, and it's 13%. 13% of the tracks operating in the United States are road course.
Wow. Well, anyway, so it's so then from there we were really they really pile them on early, right? That ride to NCM was the hard one. This was only 100 miles or to Autobahn from there. So we drove to Autobahn, well, probably 200 miles to Autobahn. And that was our last of the tracks. Had a great time. And that was the first time I got to ride in your car, Mental. Chris, they allowed us to do parade laps or whatever, fun laps. And we all piled into it. And I was impressed. I was impressed at how fast this car could go, especially with 5 of us in there or whatever.
Yeah, it's only 500 horsepower. I mean,
I know, but
it's not a 5-seater. It's only a 4-seater.
Okay, 4 of us. You're right. You're right. There's only 4 of us. Right. Good call. But that was a lot of fun. Autobahn was great. And we rode back the next day 100 miles or so to Tire Rack, did the dry skid pad. We were running RE71s, which was great in the dry, fantastic in the dry, and not good at all in the wet. And it showed the differences in our skid pad. I don't remember the numbers now, but and that's, of course, for me, that was great because all my racing until NCM, I think, and Road America was in the wet. So now we know go to some Michelin. We'd have to pick a Michelin Pilot Sport 2s.
Autobahn is also a highly underrated track.
It's great.
Well, I'm saying highly underrated because they just won an award for Facility of the Year at PRI, but it's a great track. It really
a lot of that has to do with the track management because the track management at Autobahn is best, right?
Yeah, 2 tracks, north and south, and then they can put them together, but they did north and south, and I ran the south, and I think Tom ran the north, and we did good. And on the way back to Tire Rack, looking good, did our dry rack, and had the big ceremony at the end. At which point I realized the kind of money around me, because they did a raffle, of all sorts of cool stuff for charity. Of course, the whole thing's a charity. And these guys were just dropping $2,000, $3,000 for a memorabilia thing. Yeah, whatever. It didn't matter. Just dropping it. And I'm like, this is awesome.
Making it rain.
So in the end, sorry, go ahead.
I think it's cystic fibrosis. I can't remember.
No, it's for dementia or Alzheimer's. It's the same thing what Brock.
Unfortunately, yes. If you haven't seen the Haggerty YouTube on the Cannonball Lamborghini, it does it. Yeah.
So we
ended up even when Brock was running it, I want to say it was for cancer because he lost a son to cancer. So yeah.
Yep. And so in the end, we were second place, and a million memories and fantastic stories and some lifelong friends met. And
so which car did you beat? The 944 or
we beat the 944? That 280Z was driven flawlessly, and it's funny, you could listen to him and see you just roll in the power and roll out the power, never shifting, because it was all just
automatic,
some sort of 3-speed slush box. And oh man, he was good, and he was good about brakes, and he just ran that car really smoothly and really well, and obviously knew the tracks too, which it does help.
Well, now you would be a formidable weapon on several of those tracks because you've been running limits now with us since 2016.
And we should mention that for prep, many of these guys are literally flying the entire season before and getting track days at all the tracks that they're going to be at for one lap. And one lap does the kind of the eastern half of the United States on one year, and then the western half, and then the eastern half of the west.
More Midwest, because it always starts.
True, Midwest,
Colorado. Then they go to NOLA and then back up, and then to do the East. We'll probably do the one that's the Midwest when we do it again, if we feel that punishment is necessary to ourselves.
Yeah, because why go to tracks No,
Tom and I are talking about it though. Because we now both have 2 Caymans, similar cars, and we're both inching those cars towards the point where they would
chasing the dragon.
Yeah,
there it goes.
I get it.
That's how it always starts.
No cages yet. No cages yet. No.
Do you need a cage? You don't need a cage to run.
No, but he'll want Brock. You have to kind of talk the car through with him as to whether or not what you intend to do. Like there was a couple cars there that like a 918 Spider was there. Nobody's gonna cage that thing.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of stuff but that thing ran at the drag race 99, 99, 99. And he didn't even have it in launch mode. He just pressed the pedal. 99.
No, you shouldn't use launch mode on a bracket race because it's going to be too hard to launch.
But he wasn't doing it he was doing it for the fun, not for that.
That's great. I'm glad to, and since we're talking Porsches, and I think JP said it best. Our buddy John Polnick from whatever he is,
Bid Nerds.
Their Fascination, Bid Nerds,
yep.
Yeah, all those things. Porsche people drive their car.
Yes.
Ferrari people look at their car.
Yeah. So Porsches, and my experience, are happier when they're driven. right? Same thing. And I know you guys, poo-poo on them, but same thing with VWs. A VW that sits is a VW that's broken, and a VW that's driven every day is actually a pretty happy car. So mostly it's common German car situation. So
the only thing wrong with a modern
possible.
Volkswagen product is the possible electrics, because the motors run great. I mean, it's not. It's the chassis electronics, not the motor.
Yeah, there's issues. There's no doubt. I don't think they're that significantly different than most other manufacturers anymore, but certainly the old G3 timeframe Mark IIIs and the horrible issues that they had back then were enough to turn any enthusiast off for decades. So
yeah. I if I could have bought a R32 Golf or a GTI even at reasonable money, I might have gotten one, but their prices are they're just not in the same ballpark as my Korean buddies. So
yep.
All right, so let's talk more Porsches here for just a little bit here. You have air cooled, you have water cooled, you've had the 914. No love for the 944s, 928s. Any other Porsches out there that are pulling your eye?
So I attempted to buy a 944 S2, a 91, late 91, late last year, and the guy kind of cut off when I didn't give the money he wanted, and that's fine. It wasn't worth the money he was asking, so it will be worth the money he was asking in 2 years, but by then I would have to, take care of it for 2 years and store it and all that stuff.
So and you're not going to store it; you're going to drive it.
Yeah. So I would love a 91 S2. I love that high wing in the back, that only 1 year. I would do a 968 as well. Would do that, double the price or so. Just coming in for.
When I was looking at Racing Junk, there was a 968 that I was actually going to put up there. Because that's my great. Well, you know what? This is really leading into our next segment.
Okay.
So maybe we should just jump right in it. And we don't have Chrissy here. The safety professional is not here. We like all doing stupid things.
Before we lean into that, because you came at this with a family environment that encouraged you to wrench and to learn and to do things.
Yeah.
And Jeff, we talked about your grandfather helped you, but there are a lot of folks out there that are coming to this with no mechanical background into adulthood.
Yep.
What would be if someone is listening to this and they're not racing, but they're thinking about it, but if they just wanted to start dipping a toe in there, what's the one thing that someone, even in their 20s, could start meddling with that won't break their heart or the bank and would get them down the path that you've been blessed enough, your words, to go all the way through this? Because this has been fascinating, and I love that you built that dune buggy. But the joke I tell, and it's not a joke, when I was 17, my dad came home and I had the hood up on my car, and he said, "What is the matter with it?" And I said, "Nothing. He cut me off." He said, "Then put the hood down." And so I didn't start wrenching until I was in my 20s.
Yeah, I hear you. So that's a great question. I'm always a proponent of buy a car that will need something, because the moment you start fixing the problems that it has, you feel a total different feeling about that car. It is no longer something that you're afraid of. It is something that you own. You own it. And I mean, own it like,
you have responsibility for
not just, you are able to be part of its destiny and its path, right? I would say for Porsches, it worked for me. The money is different. The money is different today, but I still think a 914 is a fantastic place to get into Porsches right now. Yes, it's harder. The Type 4 motors used to be a $200 rebuild, and now it's a $4,000, $5,000 rebuild. All that's true, but inflation, life, everything, you're not going to get lower than that. 944 is also a great place to be. 944s are a little harder in that the plastic bits are harder to replace in the interior and stuff like that, as you imagine the 1980s and plastics, right? That is a reality of life. Whereas the previous 70s plastics were you can easily replace them with a vinyl or something, right? You don't need to have a blow molded thing that you have to figure out where to get it from. So either of those two cars, I highly recommend. If you want a wrench, they're open. Yes, I know a 914 is a pain in the butt to do some things to, but it's not as hard as it seems.
Oh,
right? Yeah, the panel opens. You get your both arms in there and work on it, and no problem. Yeah, changing the alternator sucks, right? It sucks. I agree, but it's actually about a 2-hour job to pull the motor. The motor and trans come out the bottom. You don't have to disconnect the exhaust. You don't have to do any of that. Pull it, do the things you have to do, put it back in. Those are the things. Porsche 914s are, sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Well, I was going to say that, but that actually does tie quite well into what Jeff is about to lead us into with our.
No Chrissy here, so we don't have a safety tip. We talked about the care and feeding. We talked about some fantastic experiences. I've never owned a Porsche. I'm the only one on this broadcast who has never owned a Porsche of any type and dreamed about them my whole life. So I will tell my brief story. I grew up in the backseat of an SCCA rally car. So not performance rally, but TSD rally, time, speed, distance. My father had the hot hatch thing before it was a hot hatch. German built Ford Fiestas, all kinds of things.
Very neat.
Yeah. Which, are really the Kent, whatever. So anyway, his friend, who was an accountant, was making a lot of money. And my dad was like, oh, he's getting a new Porsche. He's getting rid of his old Porsche. I don't remember what his old one was because I wasn't cognizant. And he showed up with a 944 turbo S4. Maybe it might have been S2. It was an S.
Yeah.
It was the wide, it was a fender flared, the whole 9 yards. And it was the most amazing car my 12, 9, 8-year-old, I'm not even sure how old I was, ever saw in my life. And I fell in love with it. I still love the shape of a 944. Tell me, hella sweet but terrible, should I get a 944? Which one should I get? How much of a steel spike am I sticking in my ear? What's the story? What should I do? Give me advice, oh sage of the PCar.
Well, look at that. So my highest recommendation to you is to not get a turbo. Turbos are worth more. They cost more. They are hugely more work when it comes to anything related to the exhaust. Porsche, in their infinite wisdom at the time, said, hey, there's a lot of heat on the side of the exhaust. We're going to route the turbo onto the intake side with the pipes go underneath and deal with that. Okay.
Gold. I love gold.
So there, that right there. So what I would say to you is the latest you can find S2, which is, between 188 and 208 horsepower, which ain't shabby for a 2,400 pound car.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not going to hit the 217 or 247 horsepower that you get with the turbos, but there's more power there's more area under that curve, in some places. So there's a lot to be said. I would get an S2. I would say do it soon and buy the best possible one you can afford.
I've had two 924s. I haven't scratched the 944 itch. I don't want the performance one. I want the 84. I want the early. Yeah. I just like the looks of them. I like the simplicity of them.
Yeah. If you're going to do that, I would recommend getting the late 84s and later, because the 83, 84 was, there's a bit of, I can't find those parts anymore type stuff, because it was, very early,
rare crossover years,
harder. The way the windshield's put in, the way all that stuff is a little different. But if you're digging in, it may be worth it, and you can always find a parts car. Mental will always find a parts car, I'm sure. In the Vegas
speaking
area.
Of parts car, Mental, why don't you tell us about your current situation?
I don't have any parts cars.
No, 920, but tell us about your 928s.
Yeah.
Well, everyone saw in the inner tubes that I'd bought the parts 928, and it is now completely chopped up and is no more. I've got some glass laying around my garage that'll probably go up for sale. I've got the side panels that ideally will be hanging in JP studio here, not too
Nice.
much longer. And I think Eric, you've expressed some interest. I got to dig through what I have and some other
Whatever.
bits that'll go on to some collectors. And yeah, it's me trying to solve this transmission problem as cheaply as possible. Because that advice that everyone says about buy the nicest one you can afford, I never do. I always buy the cheapest one I can find. It's just how I do things.
Yeah.
We totally forgot to mention that is the only 914 that is the only Porsche part I own right there.
Ravenna green. That's a beautiful car.
Yeah.
Those are early green. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. So, okay. So if you owned, well, I should say, give some advice to Mental. He's currently got all these parts and a 928. Mental, what is your goal with your 928? Track car? You don't know.
It was a stupid good deal and I'm having fun fooling around with it.
That's an 8-valve?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
4.7 liter.
The 16 valve. I mean, two valve.
First, yeah, but it's not the quad cam. It's not the super horsepower one. 80, the first year, the 83.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So
it's got the little wing on the back?
No. So it was the S in Europe and they had two different models. And then when they brought the 4.7 liter to the US, they just called them all S's.
Okay. So it's a 4.5.
No, 4.7. That's the year they upgraded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. And you're going to retro in the transmission from the one you took apart?
Ideally, we're going to see what I can do with this automatic first. And then when I get it sorted and it's going through, and I'm not going to further complicate issues by throwing a half-baked transmission swap into it, then I'll do the half-baked transmission swap after everything else is settled on it.
Your parts car was a stick?
Correct.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's why I bought the parts car, because I could take everything off of it and the wheels were in good shape. And so,
yeah, I love 928s. I think 928s, like a 968, is one of those designs that if people didn't know it, you drove that car out and they would not have any concept that is a 40-year-old car.
Not at all.
Right.
Design. You're like, that's almost, I mean, they use the words timeless on cars that aren't timeless, but this one's timeless in my opinion. Until
you put the headlights up, then everybody would be like, what is that?
Cool.
Yeah, they're cool.
They'd be like, oh, but in the world of pop-ups, and we all love pop-up down headlights. We all love them. They're the greatest pop-ups. And the most wackiest pop-ups. Fight me if you think there's a better one.
I'd say wackier the Corvettes. The rollover twice one.
The backwards flippy ones.
Yeah.
But they don't. When they're up, they don't look like they did anything weird.
No. Yeah. And
when the 928s are up, it's like
teardrop. It's like a really, really expensive audio speaker. Right? Those ones that have like the Nautilus style where it's acoustically designed through nature.
Yeah.
Or it just looks like a painted hot rod.
I think it looks like a snail, because they're like on stalks. They're like so high up.
Yeah, no, anyway. Those are beautiful cars. I think the thing that plagues them is electrical, because they had so much redundancy in the wiring and it was such a complicated car prior to computers that you have wires everywhere, and that is maybe you'll never accept, live with the fact that you'll never get your damn glove box light to work or something like that, and that's fine. But it's I love those cars, and they are solid cars with their they suffered from what many Porsches did, except for the 911, which was they got cheap and people didn't care for them properly.
Correct.
And
which is what's wrong with the 944 markets right now.
Yeah.
Some idiot
solid car. Yeah, say solid car. As someone who just chopped one up, yes, there is double gauge steel everywhere.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like the front suspension is well built. It doesn't have any major issues. The Visoc rear axle is fantastic. It doesn't have any major issues. No. Everything about it is a pretty solid car for longevity, and it, like your Mercedes, is happy at 148 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's a GT. It's a Grand Tourer.
Absolutely.
But it's a Grand Tourer from the 80s, which means it's not a heavy, big, fat pig
Yeah.
like a Grand Tourer would be today. Not that your car's a pig. You know what I mean?
Oh no, my car. I just had to explain to someone the other day that the Mercedes is a 4,600-pound car.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're like, what? That thing's that fast? I'm like, yeah, that's why it's so cool. But on the subject of Grand Tours, though, Eric, you've mentioned your desire for a GT4, which is it's basically the GT3 in the Cayman.
It's basically a big old flat 6 4-liter in there, and
mid-engine, not rear
mid-engine. So it's a true Cayman.
It's a Cayman, but it's the explain it to the people who might not know, because I'm not 100% sure I know.
So there's Caymans. There's the 718 Cayman, right? And that's the now
Current
4-cylinder
body,
boxer engine, 2.5 liter, multiple S and non-S as power outputs. That is a fantastic car. Then there's the GTS 4-liter, which is a flat 6 4-liter, normally aspirated, with almost 384 horsepower or so. And then the Cayman GT4, which is spherical bushing, suspension, and all those real things like you get in a GT3. Same suspension front end as a GT3, obviously different rear because it's mid-engine. But that concept, it's got adjustable anti-roll bars. It's got all the things, and it has a 4-liter normally aspirated for that revs to
like
400
horsepower, right? Almost
414 or something like that. Horsepower.
414.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
Revs to like 400 RPM and sings like the 3 tenors, or pick a 4th tenor.
Well, and it's a derivative of the GT3 motor, which revs to the 9,000, and they've already solved all those problems.
They solved those problems. It is a beautiful car, and the reason why I'm considering it is because right now, if you can get one close to, and this is the problem, getting it anywhere near MSRP, you can drive it for 10, 20,000 miles and sell it for more than you paid for.
But Porsche is it's like buying a Rolex. You're not going to walk into a Rolex dealer and say, I would like a Daytona. They're not going to sell you one until you've bought 14 of their lesser things to it. And you're not going to go to any Porsche dealership and say, I want a GT4 Cayman, because they're not going to sell one to you because you haven't bought 14 Boxers and 3 Cayennes from them.
So you say that, but that doesn't appear to be the case.
You could buy one that somebody has already.
What you can't get is the GT4 RS. Which just came out. That there's a waiting list for multiple years. That is out there. Porsche is not unlike Ferrari. Porsche is building as many of them as they can within their model designators in the factories. They are not limiting production. It is not a limited run on any of those cars. So besides the insanity of today's car market, Porsche is not gouging like Ferrari does on a regular basis.
Well, Porsche makes more of their money through investments and things than it does. It's really a stock trading company that happens to build cars.
And SUVs. Yeah. They make a lot of money in SUVs.
They make a lot of money in SUVs, which is fine. Sell every one you can. Every Macan out there just means there's another generation coming out. Yes. So I think this is an amazing thing. So the GT4 RS is out, and you're saying that has made the GT4 obtainable.
Well, not fiscally, but it isn't the one that the guys who must have the best and the best and the best, even if they don't know how to drive, must get. Right. So,
yeah. So have you ever driven a GT3 on track?
No.
Oh.
It is on my list of things to do.
That puts mental and me above you a little.
Absolutely.
We have driven that. And I want to tell you, I again, grew up idolizing Porsche, but it was driving that 911 GT3 that made me say, whatever it takes, I will own one. Because that car was 300 horsepower less than the big Lamborghini, and I could still make that thing go around that track faster.
Yeah.
That thing was amazing.
I believe after, like I said, when I bought my Cayman, I said the hype was real. The automotive journalists knew what they were talking about when they said how great this car is, how it's been on like top 10 lists for Car and Driver for the last 10 years or whatever. I don't remember the numbers, and that is the reality of it. And they say the same thing about the GT3, and I believe it's worth it. But the question is it an investment or is it insanity?
Oh,
and that's the question.
I don't know. I think we all have hella sweet ideas. I think we should all do it. I think Mental should do the swap. I think you should get the GT4. I'm going to start shopping 944s right after this podcast because
look for them in Vegas, because I just all those ones I showed you there were all they were all $5,000 to $8,000 rust free running titled Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta have one.
I would highly recommend. I mean, after living with the rust, and you saw my my rusty 914
Yes.
Of the Northeast, any car like that, any used car I will buy will be, especially pre 76
Fly and
free.
drive.
Would be go get it from the west or the south or well the southwest, not the south.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Well,
yeah, it's beautiful.
This is awesome. Do you have anything you want to tell our listeners to go check out? Any band websites, Instagrams?
I'll throw out a couple things. Good for Sundays, my current main band that I play in. I think it's the best band I've ever. I believe that musically and achievement in doing a great job and picking up things is the best band I've ever played in. I love it, and I really am impressed with where we're at musically. And I would recommend seeing us. I am planning on having us play at New Jersey this year.
And that's
at the Lemons race.
That Good for Sunday. You guys are on the Facebooks.
Good for Sunday. Check us out on Facebook. So we got a couple of gigs coming up in the Northern Virginia area. But like I said, I'm probably going to try to. Right now, my guys say yes to playing at New Jersey in June, so that'll be interesting.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
We'll have the link to that in our show notes.
Yeah, other than that, I have a production company in which I do short films, mostly narrative films, and we're award-winning short films called Cup O Meat Productions. The partner in that, Ron, he's out on the West Coast and he's doing music as well. So it's some neat stuff. And so check that out, Cup of Meat Productions on YouTube. You can see any of our like 28, 30 short films. Neat stuff. It's, I love it. But anyway, good times. But so thanks guys for this. Thanks for letting me be on and co-host.
Yeah, this is
seriously,
awesome.
This was relatively short notice, but thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
And if you guys don't like one last thing, we'll throw Eric under the bus on this one. If you don't like Eric, and you should, bear in mind also he fosters soon to be seeing eye and help dogs. So
yeah.
It's a good person all the way around.
Yeah. Is that?
Thank you.
Here,
raise them.
You raise them. Here's the question: how much are you doing? How much are your girls doing?
So this is a really good question.
Because this
my
is
daughter,
a girl's project,
my 15-year-old, my 15-year-old really dug in, and she's doing a huge amount. We're really proud of her. She's doing a huge amount. My wife does the most because she's home with the dog all day, that kind of thing. But I'm third.
That's great. That's great because
responsibility.
This is a family project. This is to teach the girls the responsibility and to give them some service, and that's amazing. And I almost took one home the other day. Not one of yours, one of my other friends.
Yeah.
Because it failed out of the program and it was cute. So
our guide dog is getting placed, so we are successful in that. So
congrats.
Guide dog, and happy to that. Now we have a new one for America's Vet Dogs, and if you want to give money to those organizations, I recommend, because they do great work.
There you go. Well, thank you for downloading Mental. Do we have any idea what we're doing next week?
Nah, we'll figure something
Figure
out.
Maybe Eric will be back. Who knows?
Yeah, really, yeah.
Whatever you guys want.
Ooh, you know what we could do? We could trade in the two Chris and Chrissy for two Erics. We'll get rude. It'll be fantastic.
There you go. Let's do that.
Two Erics.
All right, guys, thank you for this.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
for downloading us. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can drive across the country in Kirkies in a 914 with a top that doesn't keep the rain. No, you don't want to do that. But what you want to do is subscribe to our podcast. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching on the YouTube, smash the like button. Smash the like button. Follow us. Mention us in the comments, questions, anything you want to do. If you have any questions, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers. Email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text pictures of your junk. 484-243-0455. Instagram, Twitter, everyone.racers. Reddit,
TikTok.
/E1R. I didn't post on TikTok. I only post on TikTok when I'm at the track. Oh, you did? I missed it. Thanks again, and until next week, Keep the shiny side up and keep those fooks down.